Hi guys, Chris Ingram here with our first quarter webinar of 2023. Thank you for joining us as usual. We are going to switch it up a little bit tonight, do it a little bit different. I'm going to give you a brief update on what has occurred so far here in 2023. And then I have my special guest with me, Rudy Herrera, who is our college planner in the office. And we're going to dive into the details a little bit of college planning and what some of the parents out there should be thinking about with regards to preparing their children for college. So let's get started. We don't want to keep you guys here too long. We want to move rapidly. So I'm going to dive right into the details of what has occurred so far in 2023. And I'm going to begin in the nicest way that I possibly can. I think, if you guys don't follow me on social media, you might want to go follow me on Facebook because I'm getting to a place where I might start calling some people out on Facebook, and there may be some fireworks and it may be lots of fun. There's some high profile people out there that I'm getting real tired of listening to what they have to say. And there may be an opportunity to just kind of hear me spout off and maybe get a reaction from them. Who knows? It might be fun. So if you don't follow me, come check me out. So the reason that I'm saying that is that if you go back to the fourth quarter of 2022, people being negative was a dime a dozen. There was, analysts on TV talking about how awful the markets were, how we were going into a recession, how you should sell all your tech stocks, get out of stocks. They were on TV. I went to a seminar in Vegas, listened to a couple of economists out there tell us, the sky is falling and that we should sell all of our stocks and get out of the market. There was even a high profile hedge fund manager who towards the tail end of last year told everybody basically get out of stocks. And funny enough, just about a month ago, he came out and said, oops, sorry, I was wrong. Congratulations to all of those that didn't listen to me and actually either stayed in the market or bought the market. And this gets really frustrating to me as a financial advisor for a couple of different reasons. The first reason is that these people on TV and these people that are talking at these seminars, they don't know you. They don't know our clients. And so one of the things that's really important as a financial advisor is we're supposed to know who you are, what your time horizon is, what your goals are for the future. We're supposed to know you and put together a plan that is unique to you and your goals and your objectives. And the people on TV have no idea who's listening. And so a lot of what they say can be taken out of context and can have no real justification or reason for a client to follow those what do you want to call them, recommendations from the people on TV. So a lot of that is very difficult for me as a financial advisor because clients are getting fed information from sources that don't understand or know that client. And clients sometimes want to make decisions based on what they hear on TV when it's really not in their best interest. So it gets very difficult and frustrating. And as you can see, what has happened or what has occurred, if you look at the markets going into this year, is that the S&P 500 right now is up 7% for the year. You have the NASDAQ up 15+% for the year. And if you look at some of those tech stocks that they told everyone you should sell and get out of because they're dead, like Apple that's up 30% this year, Microsoft that's up somewhere around 26-27% this year, and a company like NVIDIA that's up, I think, close to 93% this year. So if you would have sold your stocks and listened to some of these people at the end of last year, not only would you be hurting right now because you wouldn't have participated in the rebound, but that noise also has caused people to do the opposite of what they probably should have done and what we recommend that people do, which is when they looked at NVIDIA last year that was down something like 61%. And we know that NVIDIA is a great company and has a very good outlook for the future, that we would have looked at that as a buying opportunity and maybe purchased some NVIDIA. And now we would be sitting on some stock that we bought last year that's up close to 100% in just a 4-month period. So instead of being afraid of what that market looks like and selling and getting out of the market, looking at it as an opportunity to take advantage of something that doesn't happen very often, and is an opportunity to make a lot of money in a very short time period if you run towards it, not away from it. And so markets have done relatively well going into this year. I will preface that and say that that doesn't mean I'm saying it's all clear, that we have no more problems and that the market's going to continue to rally for the rest of this year. Because then I would be just like these other talking heads on TV, telling you what is going to happen and making a prediction on something that's impossible to predict. The reality of the situation is the short term is unpredictable in the stock market, and nobody knows what's going to happen over the short term. Everything can change tomorrow on a dime. And so we don't really know what's going to happen. So we as financial advisors preach over and over and over again that you need to understand your plan, understand your time horizon, understand your tolerance for risk, understand what your goals are, and come up with a long-term strategy that drowns out some of the noise of that volatility of the market, because it happens over and over again, and looks more long-term and has a better overall plan and understanding of what their goals are for their money and their investments over time. But let's backtrack a little bit and let's talk about why are things improving going into this year. And there's some things that I've talked about in a couple of our other webinars. But if you look at what has occurred going into this year, and I'll go back to what I often try to get people to understand about the stock market. The stock market is a leading indicator, not a lagging indicator. So it's looking out to the future. So early last year, the stock market started falling in anticipation of trouble ahead. It saw trouble on the horizon and it decided to decline in value. Stocks seemed overvalued at that point. People wanted to sell, reduce their positions, get more conservative because they saw trouble. Then the stock market falls. Now the stock market's looking out and saying, hey, we still have problems, but we're possibly seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. And there may be opportunity in prices where they are today to buy into the market, because we see 6, maybe 12 months from now, things may be better than they are today. And so we want to buy into these stocks that are relatively cheap in anticipation of what's coming. So that's typically what happens. So what has occurred coming into this year is a couple of different things. One is corporate earnings. So last year, if you listen to quarterly reports, earnings reports for a lot of the various companies on Wall Street, you heard a lot of the CEOs come out and say, hey, we don't like the outlook for next year. We're going to trim our expectations of what we think we're going to do as a company over the next year or so. Now we're at a place where those expectations have been reduced and companies are in a place where they have the potential of meeting or exceeding those expectations because expectations are low. And so corporate earnings have the potential this year of meeting or exceeding what we expect from these companies, which could be good for their stock prices and is one of the factors in why stocks are starting to take off or people are seeing value in companies at their current prices. Number two is that aside from that, everybody's talking about the recession, right? We've been saying we're either in or going into a recession, and the big fear is what's going to happen with the recession. But if you look at fourth quarter GDP from the end of last year came out, it was 2.6. And we have unemployment that's still at 3.6. So I've said for a while, I thought we were already in a recession, and we are probably in a recession or still going to be in a recession for some portion of 2023. But the fact of the matter is a lot of the data we're getting is showing us that it might be a relatively mild recession. Now, again, that could change. But right now, the numbers are showing us that, hey, it might not be as bad as everybody thinks it is. And so people are starting to feel like, hey, we may make it out of this thing without too much damage. And so that's starting again to make stocks look relatively cheap and something that people want to buy looking out to the future. The next piece, two more that I think are affecting the market right now, is inflation. And so let me give you a brief education on how the inflation numbers are compiled. So when you look at inflation and they tell you that it's at 9.1, okay, so what it's doing is it's taking the last 12 months of data and it's adding it together to give you a number. When the next month moves forward, that old number from the previous 12 months drops off and the new number comes in. So I'm actually going to pull out my sheet of paper and give you some real data here so you can understand exactly how this works. So if you go back to October of 2021, the monthly number in October of 2021 was 0.9. In November, it was 0.8. And in December, it was also 0.8. That continued on until, let's see, we get through January was 0.6, February was 0.7, March of 2022 was 1. April of 2022 was 0.4. May of 2022 was 0.9, and June of 2022 was 1.2. And that got us to a 9.1 in June of 2022. Well, if you go backwards and you think about what has happened recently, is in October of 2021, the number was 0.9. So this year, or I'm sorry, in October of 2022, the number was 0.5. So think about what happened. The 0.9 drops off and we add in a 0.5. So basically the annual number got reduced by 0.4. Okay. Then in November of 2021, it was 0.8. In November of 2022, it was 0.2. So that's a 0.7 drop. In December of 2021, it was 0.8. In December of 2022, it was 0.1. That's another 0.7 drop. So you see what's happening is you're losing the old big numbers from 2021 and 2022 and adding in smaller numbers, which is bringing the overall inflation number down. So what has happened going into the last couple of months is May of 2022 was 0.9. Okay. In June of 2022, it's 1.2. So see what's happening is that the numbers we're getting right now in March of 2023, it was 0.1. So we're getting smaller data points in 2023. And these big numbers from 2022 are going to fall off. So you can almost guess to some degree that May of 2022, when that 0.9 drops off and they add in a 0.2, 0.3, 0.1 for May of 2023, we're going to have another reduction of somewhere between 0.5% to 0.7. And then in June of 2022, it was 1.2. So if in June of 2023, it's somewhere around 0.3, that's another 0.9 drop. So right now, inflation is showing at 5%, the annual number in March of 2023. It's reasonable to expect that over the next couple of months, that number probably drops into the 3s somewhere if everything continues on the path that it's on right now. So what's happening is, obviously, we're at 9.1 back in June of last year, and we're now at 5. We're probably in the 3s somewhere over the next couple of months. The inflation data is definitely trending in the right direction, which is important. But more important, what that does to the Fed, because I really think my final bullet point of what's changed going into this year is 100% the Fed. The Fed, since about 2009, after the financial crisis, has been dictating a lot of what happens with this market. When the Fed lowers interest rates, the market goes up. When the Fed raises interest rates, the market goes down. We've seen it time and time again. Happened in 2018. They raised interest rates, the market dropped. Last year, they raised interest rates, the market dropped. When they say pause or potentially that they're going to lower interest rates in the future, I think that's very positive for what happens to the stock market based on what we've seen over the last 12 years, 15 years, actually. And so I think that's coming. When you have inflation trending the right direction, you're getting the Fed to a place, and they're getting closer and closer to potentially saying that they're no longer going to raise interest rates and they're going to pause. And potentially even there's some speculation that later this year going into next year, that the Fed may actually start to lower interest rates, which again could be a very good thing for the stock market. And again, the stock market is now looking out to the future and seeing that possibility and starting to buy some of these stocks that seem relatively cheap right now. So those 4 factors have kind of played with the market going into this year, where they're all showing signs that stocks seemed relatively cheap and that there might be an opportunity to buy them in anticipation of what's to come later this year. Now, again, I'm going to go back to what I said before. There's no guarantee the market's going to continue to go up. We could have a problem tomorrow. The Fed could change their tone. Inflation could spike all of a sudden. Every day is different. So we have to see what's happening. But right now, those seem to be the indicators of what is going to occur this year. And so it's given a positive tone to the market going into this year. And that's why we've seen the rally the other direction. What I will say, which is most important, is that all of this is somewhat noise because, again, we can't predict what's going to happen in the short term with the stock market. But what's more important is to understand that these things happen. And if you jump in and out of the market and you try and time these things, that's how you will get hurt. And that's why you shouldn't, like some of the people on TV, have sold your stocks at the end of last year like they were recommending, because then you would have missed out on what has occurred so far this year. And that's why you should also keep a long-term time horizon and projection to know what the future potentially holds, and know that you're in it for the long haul, and that you are going to stick to your plan, stick to your allocation, stick to your your outlook for the future, and not try and get caught up in what's happening in the short term in the market, and understand that you have a good plan in place. If you don't have a good plan in place, get with your financial advisor. If you don't have a financial advisor that you think is competent enough to put a good plan in place for you, give us a call at Prosperitas Financial. We have a ton of great financial advisors that would be willing to help you. So that's it. I went over longer than I probably should have, even on that segment, but that's kind of what has occurred so far going into this year. That's a very quick outlook on what I see going forward. And so let's hope that the Fed kind of pauses here soon. Let's hope that inflation continues to trend in the right direction. Let's hope that we, skate or get by without any kind of a severe recession. And let's hope this trend that we've seen at the beginning of the year for the stock market continues, and that we see better days ahead. So that's what I'm hoping for. So I will stop there, and I will transition to the main purpose we're having this webinar tonight, which is to talk about college planning, and introduce you to my friend, Rudy Herrera, who is our college planner in the office. Rudy has basically been here with us since the day Prosperitas Financial opened our doors. And we were so excited from the very beginning to have Rudy on the team, because we believe, as a comprehensive financial planning team, that we need to look at all aspects of our clients' financial lives. And college planning, for those of you that have children, is crucial to making sure that not only your kids can go to college, but that you don't devastate and destroy your retirement plans or your plans for the future in an attempt to pay for your kids to go to college. So, as important as it is, we wanted one of the very best on our team to be able to help our clients with that. And that is why we brought in Rudy Herrera to do that. So thank you so much for being a part of the team and all that you do for our clients. And thank you for being here on the webinar tonight.
Well, thank you very much for having me part of the team. I'm very humbled, and I feel very blessed. This is a great team here at Prosperitas Financial. If you haven't been here at Prosperitas Financial or know any of the financial advisors, I'd advise you to meet with some of them here. They're very holistic. They're just a great team, and they also help my clients as well. So I love being here. It's always a great day here at Prosperitas.
Appreciate that. We love having you here, and you've been a great fit for all of the advisors here and all of their clients. So we appreciate you. All right, so let's dive into it. Why did we bring Rudy on right now? Because if you're like me, I have 4 children, and they're all getting ready to go into summer. Right. I've got some that are already working with Rudy and getting ready to go to college in the near future. And I've got some that are at the age where we need to start preparing. So my first question to you, Rudy, and you can explain this to them, something that I know, but I think they need to hear more about, is, we've talked about it before. 8th grade, graduating and getting out of 8th grade, is really the ideal time to start thinking about it. So talk to me a little bit about the transition from 8th grade into high school, some of the challenges that presents for the student, and some of the things that parents should be thinking about as they make that transition to begin the journey of thinking about college.
Well, it's definitely a big change. It definitely could be a challenge for many kids as they're going into a much larger school with more kids and more responsibilities. Definitely the education is the classes, the rigor is going to be much harder, and it's going to be much more demanding. Where I would start as an 8th grader transitioning into 9th grade is to create a plan. And as a matter of fact, wherever you're at, whether it's 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th grade, you have to do it. Just start now and create a well-rounded academic plan. Okay, that's what I would start first. Many parents, they believe a lot of quantities is where to go because everybody's doing so much. And that's not the case. I know we've heard this before many times. Less is more. right? So quality is much better. So I would work on making sure that, and how you do that is by making sure that you're not taking a lot of AP classes, a lot of honor classes, and then coupled with a lot of extracurricular activities. By doing all that, it could be a recipe for disaster. And I've seen it in 9th and 10th and 11th grade where parents are calling me and asking me, what do I do? Right? My kid's burnt out. Well, what are you doing? Right? And they're just pouring on the gas on unnecessary fire. Right? So that's what I would do.
Got it. And I will say, and you know this, we experienced that with our daughter because so many extracurricular activities and then so many AP classes, and she's a hyper what do you want to call her, type A personality where she wants to be the best of the best of the best, and sometimes she takes on a little too much. And it has been one of our challenges in planning for college because she's so, burnt out to some degree as she's preparing. So definitely something to think about and listen to Rudy when he gives you advice on that type of thing. So you mentioned a well-rounded academic plan. And I think people think well-rounded academic plan means, take AP classes and take summer classes and take this and take that. When you think about a well-rounded academic plan, how would you describe that versus the idea of I should just, take everything and get the highest GPA possible? What is really the best thing for the student?
Well, let me backtrack just a little bit. And I think it correlates to the question that you're asking me here is the first thing I would do is develop the plan based on the rigor of the course, making sure what is the goal here, right? Where are you headed with your child? Is it going to be college? Is it going to be trade school, a vocational school, right? Once you know that, and you know exactly where your child or your child's interest is at, then you can move on to the prerequisites, right? And also figure out what the graduation requirements are to attend those universities or that career program, whatever it is. Once that's done, then what I would put together is making sure you put a great mix of your core classes as well as your electives, right? And align them to a theme based on what that interest is, right? You don't want to take AP stats and you're really devoted to English and journalism. That doesn't make any sense, right? And don't take a lot of AP classes. Make sure that it's well balanced. And we'll get a little bit more into that, but that's what I would do.
Got it. Yeah. And again, from experience, some of the electives that sound like fun and are a great thing, but don't necessarily translate to what the objective is for that student at the next level. And then you find out, well, I really should have focused my attention on some of these other things instead of cramming my schedule full of these fun electives that don't necessarily translate well.
And that's a good, let me bring up a good example of a student that I was with yesterday. So this is a great example. He's going to be a senior. His intended major is biology, and he's taking all the right classes. It's all themed up. And so in the summer, he's taking government class because he wants to take another general elective class, something that he has interest in. So he picked AP psychology. So we sat down, and I already know why he picked AP psychology. I'm not going to get into it. But I asked him, I go, is this going to make you outshine the person that's taking that extra class in biology? And what would that be? Human anatomy, microbiology, honors classes. So that's what he should be taking in his senior year. So we had a good conversation yesterday, and I just basically said, if you can sell me why the psychology is better than these other three classes, then we'll do that, right? But you want to make sure that you're aligning yourself up with the right classes, and that's just not taking any classes.
Right. Because colleges look at that, right? They're going to say not just what the GPA is and what the grades are, and did you take a bunch of AP classes? Did you study the subjects that translate well into what you want to do, or you're telling them you want your major to be?
Exactly. And as I said, we're talking about AP psychology class, right? This is an honors class. So whether it's maybe a little step below, it's again the quality of what you're doing, not the quantity of what you're doing, right? That's the main essence.
Got it. And when you say, I guess this ties into it. So the classes to prioritize would still be the ones that are somewhat related to what your interests are and what your major hopefully is at the next level. And maybe you can expand on this. My daughter and I talked about it at one time. She had two girls that were at her school, and one had a higher GPA and didn't get accepted to a school, and one with a lower GPA did get accepted to the school. And, everybody is so shocked with, well, why would one that has a lower GPA get accepted when, this other one didn't? And would you say that some of that is that class prioritization or having the right pedigree, as you might call it?
Yeah, it could be that. It could be a lot of different factors, but that's one of them. I get that question a lot, and I always think about balance, and it goes back to quality and quantity, is having a good balance and making sure you're taking the right amount of classes. And we want the student to take, and you want the student to take the most rigorous classes where they can attain the highest GPA, right? You want them to reach full maximum. Once you know what that is, and you can gauge, and your kid better than anybody else does, and you can gauge their stress level. Like with your kid, she can be pushed pretty far, and she's a champion. So that. So that's really important, is making sure that there's that balance.
Yeah, and again, from experience, one day you're walking around, they graduate, and then next thing you know, your daughter's in your room going, I have to pick all my classes, and they're just rifling through this list, where I think, you bring a lot to the table of getting out in front of that and saying, okay, if we know the objective from day one, let's start thinking about, before we just start rifling off and picking electives that we think will be fun, or this AP class or that AP, let's think through this and come up with an actual strategy. I think is essentially what you're saying from day one, is to make sure you have that.
Is having a strategy. I always tell parents all the time that, I love high school counselors. They're good at what they do. It's just they're they don't have all the tools that the system provides for them, but they have all the education to do the same thing that I do. They just don't have the resources, enough people to help every kid. So I think it's important for it's a village. It takes a village, right? Your wife's involved, you're involved, I'm involved, the counselor's involved, the teachers are involved. So everybody's involved. If you're a parent out there that thinks that you could just drop your kid off and let the school handle it, and it's not going to happen. You're not going to get the best results for your children. So it takes a village to put everything together, make sure that, again, it's very well balanced, right? You're taking the right courses, making sure that they're just not taking those fun courses, but there's an objective. Now, the courses can be fun, actually. They can take the fun courses, and those fun courses are the ones where you're pouring the gas on the real fire, where they have interest.
Right.
So when the kids come to me, it's really about them finding what they love. Because what I preach to them and what I advocate is, if you find what you love to learn, then we don't have to really worry about the career. The career will follow what you love. Because I love what I do. I know everybody here at Prosperitas loves what they do, and it shows. There's this energy in here. And everybody that comes here, the kids, they feel that energy. And so I tell them the energy is here because people love what they do.
Right.
And if you love what you do, if your subject is math and you love math, let's do it. Let's go 100%. I always tell the kids, they laugh all the time. I say, if you want to be a garbage collector, then let's do it. Let's be the best garbage collector
on the planet. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
I love it. So you mentioned balance. Okay. And this is before I met you and before I had a child going through this process with you. I was in the dark. So some of you might be as well. And where I was in the dark is I was under the impression that community service and this involvement and extracurricular activities was just, load up on all this stuff to show that you're a trooper, like you're going to go get it done and you're going to give back and you're going to do all that stuff. And one of the things you had mentioned to me early on was, whoa, it's not just about the community service. There's more to the balance of all of it and what you're trying to accomplish. And again, the presentation to the college of who this student is and why they stand out from all the other essays and resumes and all the things so talk to us a little bit about extracurricular activities, community involvement, experience in your category or your career path that you want to go down, and things that they should be thinking about versus the noise of just trying to do everything?
Well, yeah. So like I said earlier, don't focus on the quantity, but focus on the quality. So for extracurricular activities, there's so much that you could do. You could reach out to many nonprofits here where we live in Santa Clara Valley. I think they have the most nonprofits in the county. You reach out to community organizations, businesses, parents. You should be leveraging your personal contacts of who you know based on what your child's interests are. So those are the things that you should do. Yes, a lot of people, A driver personality, let's do everything, right? It shows that we can handle the rigor and do everything. And the admissions officers are not necessarily looking at you can do everything. They're looking at what kind of impact are you making in a community. So there's two different communities, right? The community that's existing already. So like, let's say, single women's outreach program, right? It's an existing community or a community that you're going to develop yourself, right? You can also do research projects. There's a lot of things that can be done. Like your daughter's doing a research project and is doing it with a PhD candidate, and no, not a PhD candidate, and actually PhD. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure. She had a few different topics, and she's just choosing one right now. Mm-hmm. And they're just very, very interesting. You can start a 501c3. We have a student that started a 501c3. And if you're listening to what I'm saying, a lot of this is impact. He was in India, was in a village, no education. They need $800 a month to educate like 60 kids, okay, to give them the tools, the books, right? Okay. He created this 501c3 to do that, and that's what's being done. So when the college admission officer is reading the essay, remember, for those of you that don't know, and I've said this to Chris before, that they know all the hard factors, right? All the hard numbers, right? That's what gets you in the high GPA, SAT scores and all that. But they're reading the personal statements, who you are and what comes across and what did you do? Tell us what you did. So you want to work on impact, something that's impactful, that's worthwhile, something that's meaningful, something that could self-perpetuate and continue to move on. Mm-hmm. Make sense?
Yep. And again, to make them stand out from that,
yes, you're standing out.
Stack.
Exactly. Yeah. So standing out by taking 6 AP courses in 11th grade and, doing club sports like soccer or swimming or whatever it may be, that could be a recipe for disaster, like I said earlier. And then where are you going to find time to make something impactful, right? So it's very important to work on a passion project. It's a student-led project. The admissions officers know when there's a project that's done that there's initiative. Right? An initiative leads to leadership, organization. So they know that. So when they know that a student is doing a project like that and they're conveying it into their essays, they're going to take a closer look at that person that's 3.5 versus the one that's 4.0 that did all this stuff, but nothing worthwhile. Right? All they did was just study.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. Let's talk about costs.
Oh, Jesus.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I think I heard from you in a meeting the other day that we just got an announcement from USC, right? They just jacked up their prices. So, we use in our financial planning a 6% inflation rate based on, college going forward. That's kind of what we've seen. And so that's how we project out what future cost is going to be for a family to pay for college. But some of them come in chunks, right? Because I think USC's was just a pretty big jump. So These costs are ratcheting up quickly. What should parents be thinking about with regards to the rising costs to kind of prepare themselves now for when they get there?
Wow. Those three words can answer everything that I said. Now is the time, whether you're infant, you have an infant, or whether they're in 12th grade, a senior, you have to start now. You have to understand. And this shocked Chris the other day when I told him that USC was $90,400.
I was going to say 85,000, but
$90,140. That's what it is. So, parents, when I meet with them and I'm showing them the prices, whether it's they say, okay, well, little Johnny's just going to go to Cal State. Okay, well, that's $32,000 and you have 3 kids. So that's $90,000 per kid, right?
Yeah.
$400,000. And that's like half your retirement, a quarter of your retirement. So you got to really think clearly on these costs. They're going to continue to go up. It's a business, right? There are ways, though, that you can get money. A lot of parents think that, well, I'm not going to fill out the FAFSA application because I make too much money or I have too many assets. It doesn't matter how much money you have. That's called financial need. Your financial aid is a package, and it includes merit aid, scholarships, institutional aid, student loans, a bunch of stuff. So it's important to fill that application out so they know who you are, because they're going to make an investment also in the family too. Right. They're looking 20 years down the road when they call you, right? What's it going to cost?
You told me that one story about the family, very well-off family, would have thought, I'm never going to qualify for anything, right? And they got money from SC. And your explanation of why that would happen was that they wanted them to be a part of the alumni network. They looked at it and said, hey, give them some money today, get their kid in. This is a very well-to-do family. We'll get more from them through, season tickets and donations and bricks and, all kinds of crazy stuff throughout their lifetime by being a part of the family versus just trying to milk them for every dollar during those 4 years of college.
And if I can say something that's a lot of parents don't know this, and I know we've talked about this, college is a business. And if you treat the university as a business, then you're going to win. Okay, that's just the bottom line. They're a business. UCLA has an operating budget of $9 to $10 billion every year. So they have to meet that revenue goal, right? So they have, what's running the show is companies like Oracle or SAP, these database companies, and they use algorithms and history. They know if they make an offer to you, if you're going to accept it, and if you're going to come to the school, and what are those chances are. So it's a business. You have to treat it as a business. It's very, very important that you do that, and understand that this year, UCLA had 170 to 190,000 applications. They're only letting 16,000 people in.
Yeah.
16 out of 170.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. So you have to understand, you may be the valedictorian, but there's a lot of valedictorians in the whole world's trying to go to UCLA, USC, these type of schools. Where the money is at is in small schools in the Midwest, back east. There's a lot of money there, and they're looking for kids from the West Coast. So, I would look into that as well. But you should start planning like right away, okay? Because you don't want to sit down with me and then I have to tell you that it's $50,000 a year and you're trying to figure out how to do it. And then you got Susie behind, right? I had 4 kids. I've been through this process 4 times. Chris is going through this process now, so he's feeling the pinch. It's a tough pill to swallow to see how exorbitant these cost of attendance is, right? $90,000. So,
well, my daughter expects to go to UCLA, so I expect nothing less from you, other than to get her in and be one of that 1% or whatever. So, get back to work, Rudy. No, I'm just kidding. Biggest mistakes we as parents. What are the biggest mistakes we make going down or in this journey that we could do differently from the very beginning?
Being prideful.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest mistake. And let me explain to you why. It's because a lot of parents live through their kids. They do. And they're prideful, right? My kid got into USC.
Right.
Right. And paying $400,000 instead of going to this other school, right?
Right.
The book is the same. It just depends on what their field is.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does.
So a lot of pride, and then they get themselves in trouble financially. Mm-hmm. And I think that, as well as being overburdened, being a coach for 30 years and seeing that side of the way parents are, it's no different on the academic side as well. It's amazing that when I started college planning, that I thought I was going away from the club crazy parents that I coached, right? And
you went right into the college crazy parents.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the academic crazy parents.
They got to go to Stanford, right? They got to take the SAT, ACT.
They have to go to UCLA.
Doing everything. Yeah, they have to, exactly. They have to go to UCLA, like right here, right? All the pressure, right? So, yeah, I think the pride and putting too much pressure on them. And then another thing, there's one more thing is dictating to their child what they should be studying.
Right.
What's practical, right? I have a student right now that's in theater arts, and the parents hired me to convince her not to do that. So I told them, no, I'm going to have to cancel this membership, right? Because it's not about you. You already made your bed, right? This is what she wants to do. And here, let me show you, in case she doesn't make it on the, singing on Broadway, the back end of it. So once they saw the back end and educate themselves, and then showed them schools that are going to be cost effective for them, they bought into it, right? So they got to be careful, balance. Don't put so much pressure on your kid, and just make sure that they, you find what they love to do, because that's the key. If you love what you do, then it'll never be work. I guarantee that, because I'm living proof of that. I love what I do. Chris knows that. I eat this up every day.
Yeah, no, and I will. If you heard what he said, you mentioned telling the client, basically, like, I can't work with you if you're going to force this upon your child. You made your bed. This is about them, not you. I will pause for a moment and just give him a little kudos. I think I'm almost 100% sure we have some other criers in the office, but I'm pretty sure I've seen you cry more than anybody in this office. And part of that is because Rudy he is very passionate about what he does, and it starts with the kids. Now, I will say he's hard on the kids. So if you want your kids disciplined and focused and driving towards a goal, Rudy is going to push them. He's going to make them accountable for what they need to do to be successful. And he's going to tell them, this is not your parents' job. This is your job. And he's going to put that responsibility on the kids. He's also going to put the responsibility on the parents to let your kids decide their own path. Let them figure out what they want to do. So he is pretty pushy into what you need to do to be successful, because he is so crazy passionate about these kids and getting them to a place where they can be successful and go to the colleges that are right for them and have a future that is a positive future and sets them up for success or for what they love in life in the future. And I've seen him cry many times because of either challenges with the kids or finding out that there was success with a kid. I mean, he is vested in this. And so it is something I really respect about you, because you love these kids, and it shows.
Yeah. You're gonna make me cry right now.
I know. See, I'm pushing that direction. So
pushing those buttons.
Before we get you there, I got one more question for you. And that's, after this webinar is done, as soon as they log off, what should they do right here, right now, regardless of the age of their kid? What is the very next actionable item that every parent can do today to get started moving in the right direction?
Give me a call and sit down for a free consultation. It doesn't cost any money to sit down for an hour. You walk away with an actual plan. And if it's something that you want to do on your own, then more power to you. You go ahead and do it. And I'll give you the necessary not tools, but guidance of what you need to do to get started, and then you can move forward on your own. But yes, definitely on the funding side is like yesterday. Okay. You have to start now. Even if you're a junior going to be a senior coming up, you need to start now. If you're a sophomore to be a junior, or ninth to sophomore, you want to start now, especially in the summer. You don't want this summer to go wasted. Okay. So parents, you have to understand that they want to know about your kid. So you would call me. Let me give you is it okay if I give them my number? Yeah. You can call me at 661-600-8247 and give me a call there, and we'll set up an appointment. Again, it's absolutely free. You'll get a lot of knowledge and understanding on not only what we do, but how you yourself can help your son or your daughter. Or if you want us to do that for you, we can do that for you as well. And we can have another meeting and sit down and go over what that membership would look like for your needs.
Right. Love it. Going back to what I said before, I've seen kids text you almost before they text their parents of getting accepted, because it's a bond and a relationship, and I feel like that about a lot of our financial advisors we have here and the people that are at Prosperitas. We it sounds cliche and cheesy, right? We actually really care about you guys. We want you to be successful. We want your kids to be successful. And it shows in the relationships that we form with our clients. And Rudy, it shows so much in the relationships he forms with these kids, where they are texting him at all hours of the night, trying to find out more information. What can I do? If they have a challenge or they're stressed out, they'll text Rudy and say, I don't know what to do. I'm stressed out right now. Please help me. And Rudy has been known to return texts at midnight for kids that are stressed out and trying to figure out what they should do or whatnot. So, I can't say enough about your love for the kids and your passion for getting them to be successful in the future. And again, like I said at the top of all of this, we just love having you here, and we love having that passion in the office. And we think it's just a great thing for the clients and the kids, and just you are very good at what you do.
Thank you so much. And just really quick, I'm sorry, but they call me up until 2 a.m. in the morning, and especially like during October, November, December of their senior year, because they're stuck on an application or whatever it is. And they know the rules. I may respond, I may not, but I want them to, they understand that it's got to get out their task list. So if you thought of it, why write it down and wait till tomorrow? Just text me, especially if someone's giving you that opportunity to do that.
Right.
Or kids come, like he said, that have said to me, I have this problem. I'm thinking about doing this. Someone in college or even after college, and I would say, okay, have you told your parents? And their answer would be, no, I haven't said anything to them. And so my answer to them is I would tell them, okay, don't ever tell them that you talked to me first. And so they say, why? I go, because if my son talked to you before me, I'd be a little bit upset.
Yeah.
I go, when you're 30 years old, they're not going to even sweat it. But right now, they still look at you as a little baby, even though you're 24 years old,
Right.
So, yeah, I love the kids. You have no idea how much I love it. I love it here. These guys are really good. My clients that are not associated with Prosperitas Financial love these guys. They love the wealth advisors here, and everything that they do here is just amazing. So some of you are existing clients looking at this. You should call some of your friends and have them call Chris and some of the wealth advisors here and get the same feeling that my clients are getting, because it's very, very, it's a very great firm. I'm so lucky to be here.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Yeah. And if you guys, you probably already know, you've heard me say it. If you haven't, here it is again. The whole idea of the creation of Prosperitas Financial was to surround financial advisors like myself and Jerry Citarella and Jennifer Brown with a team of specialists in all of these different areas, so that we could really create the most comprehensive, well-rounded financial plan for our clients, to make sure that we're covering all aspects and we're pointing them in the right direction to be successful. And so Rudy is an integral part of that, because that college planning piece can wreak havoc on a plan. Having been a financial advisor for the past 25 years, that college piece pops up and it can destroy if not planned out properly. And so that's what we do here at Prosperitas is now you have a financial advisor that can sit down with somebody who understands all the intricate details of getting into college and funding it, and scholarships and grants and loans and all the things that go into making that work in the bigger, broader plan that the advisors have set up for you. And so, again, that's what Rudy brings to the table when working with the various different advisors in the office. And again, we're very grateful to have you on the team. So I promised I would try to keep it short. I think we did a pretty good job. I know we went long on a couple of our original webinars. So, I just got the nod. It's 5:45, 45 minutes. So that's about ideal. That's what we wanted. We didn't want to keep you guys too long tonight, but we wanted to give you some good information. Please, if you have any additional questions, reach out to myself, reach out to Rudy, reach out to any of the other advisors here at Prosperitas Financial. Let us know what questions you have. We're happy to help. Like Rudy said, free consultation. Don't waste it. It's a free consultation. Worst case scenario, come in, get some information, get to know Rudy, introduce your child to them, and just see what he has to say and get some free advice right off the bat. And I guarantee you're going to love him and your kids are going to love him, and then you guys can move forward from there. So that's it. I hope you guys have a great evening, and we will talk to you soon.